So the topic today is simple practices. But before I even talk about simple practices, there's a preface. Why practice? See? Because if I teach you about a lot of simple practices, when I say simple, I don't mean not profound and not highly functional. They are. They just happen to be simple. But this whole study of God, and you can use a synonym for God, is just the truth. You know, you can use whatever word you want, higher power, spirit, whatever you want. It's okay. The nomenclature doesn't mean a thing. But you're searching for the genesis of life. You know, that which caused all things to occur. So there's an arc that you have to develop. The first step is just to have curiosity. What is God? What is truth? What is spirit? That has to be there. Because if you don't have the curiosity, you're not going to do the simple practices. You're not going to look. So you have to have you have to develop sort of a fundamental scientific analytical curiosity. You know, what is God? What is spirit? You have to have a curiosity to such an extent that it becomes an angst, where it bothers you that you don't know. You know, because when it bothers you that you don't know, then you'll keep up. You'll keep probing. You won't say, I looked here, I looked there, I'm going to call it a day and give up. It has to become an angst, where you're saying, you know, all these great souls, all these saints, all these Mahatmas keep talking about this God, this spirit. What is it? What is it? So that curiosity has to be fostered. You know, what is truth? What is the meaning of life? Why am I here? How did this all happen? This is Roger's questions. You know? So that is super important, because it keeps you striving. And it keeps you looking deeply. Not just surface, oh, that's that, and you move on. But that's that. But what does it mean? What is its origin? You know, how did it happen? See, that's where even science is very spiritual. Because, you know, scientists are constantly saying, how did that happen? What is that? Those are deeply spiritual questions. In truth, there's not much difference between a scientist and a yogi. It's just the yogi uses internal psychic means of inquiry, and the scientist uses external means of inquiry. You know, he's building machines and doing external observations. The yogis are saying, what facilities are naturally inherent within my psyche, and how do I use that in this process of deep inquiry? See, one is esoteric, the other is exoteric, but they're doing the same process. They're on the same road. You know, they're both valid. You know, eventually the exoteric science will run right into esoteric science. You know, and the esoteric scientist has to learn how to apply the exoteric science. See, they have to come together. It's now the exoteric scientist, as he goes deep into his craft, whether it's physics or geology or mathematics, what he or she will probably experience is a sense of awe, or at the wonder of what nature is doing. What the yogi will experience is profound love. You know, one will be in a state of awe. The other will be in a state of emotional, divine rapture. You know, that beauty will manifest as love. That awe will manifest as love. See? Just different perspectives, but the same type of epiphany will happen. The same type of radical growth and radical wonder. See? The yogi falls in love with God. That's just a fact. That's just a fact. Anyway, the scientists may have an awe and reverence of nature. Not so different. Not so different. See? They'll have an awe and then later on a reverence. You know, they'll get that feeling like, well, I love science, but there's something more to it. This is science plus. When they get that sense of awe, and they look out into the stars and say, you know what, there seems to be an inherent intelligence, you know, or they look into nature and they say, there seems to be an inherent intelligence. You know, they're trying to figure out all the facts and processes, but in the back of their mind, they're realizing, you know, this is just not dumb, random processes. There's an inherent intelligence. They get that. They may not talk about it, or maybe privately amongst their quiet, close friends, but they start to feel there's a hidden intelligence. So they're all moving in the same direction. But you have to start with a curiosity. You have to try to find God. I'm using the word God, but put in your own word, whatever you're most comfortable with. If you have that curiosity leads to seeking, and that seeking eventually leads to answers. You know, you'll become witness to processes, and then you'll become, over time, associated with people who are deeply involved in that inquiry. You know, you have to get next to souls who are actively involved in the process in a mature way. In a mature way. That will aid your journey. Now, when we talk about simple practices, it's simple in that anybody can do it. You know, these are not practices where it takes radical deep visualization and utterance of very elaborate chains of groupings of mantras and stotras and all of this. All of that's wonderful, beautiful, but not simple. Can you enter a life of deep mysticism with purely very simple practices? The answer is absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. Do you have to climb the mountains and, you know, go up to the caves in the Himalayas? Do you have to do that? No. Not necessary. Absolutely not necessary. Is it fun? Is it an adventure? Absolutely. Is it necessary? No. Can it be done here in Berkeley, California? Absolutely. Absolutely. But one has to learn to start to integrate their search and simple practices in their daily life. We bathe every day. We eat every day. You know, these are common things to our life. Your search for God and intimacy with God has to be exactly the same. It can't be that other practice that you do just at a certain time. It has to be part of your lifestyle. You know, just like people have hobbies that's part of their lifestyle. You know, they start golfing when they're 15, and when they're 58, they're still golfing. It's part of their life. It's the same thing with this search for God, that it just has to be part of your life. And if it becomes truly part of your life, then there is an inherent intimacy. The biggest deal in learning this process of deep yoga is to Hey Ram, Hey Krishna, Ram Ram. Yeah, you can sit anywhere.
Sorry, I'm late.
Yeah, Hey Rama, Hey Rama. This whole process of learning how to find God, how to have deep experiences with reality. The key is intimacy. First, you have to have a curiosity. Then that curiosity will start to grow into a deeper love, a visceral love. Not just in your head, it's a visceral love. It's sensual. And in that course, you're learning greater and greater intimacy, a true intimacy with God. Your experience is that you enter into a love affair with God / life. So you actually fall in love with life because you start to realize that life and God are the same thing. It's just no one told you to think that way. No one told you to, because we objectify things. This is this, this is that, this is this. And we just see it as other, out there, a thing. In your yogic process, how you experience life has to radically change. And that's why it takes a long time. Because we're habituated to experiencing life like our mother, our brother, our sister, our friend experiences life, which is a very common, mundane way of experiencing life. Nothing matter with it, but it's not particularly incisive. It's not particularly deep. See? Sort of when a fellow, we'll just take a good fellow, like a John Muir. When he looked off into the mountains, it wasn't the same as when we just look at the mountains. He had or a Walden, or these poets. They look at life in a different way. That's just on a human level. Now on a yogic level, it's far grander and far deeper, where you're looking at the elements of life and seeking its origin. From whence has that come? What made that? And if you look at it carefully, you start to see the inherent beauty. So we all mow grass and rake leaves and shovel snow, but we objectify it. Did we ever actually stop and take the time to carefully look at that and say, gee, I never thought about it, but that's really beautiful. That's it's not just snow, it's not just leaves, it's not just the grass. Because we objectified it and depersonalized it, and it was just a thing, we didn't allow our sensual, psychic facility to touch it. So it was just a thing. And next thing. We never acquired any kind of relationship. See? In the deep yogic process, you're you're gathering a deeper and deeper and deeper intimacy with the elements of life. And as you go deeper, you find the elements of life are just various expressions of God. They really are. But you have to learn to acquire that psychic context. If everything is just a thing, well then you're sort of depersonalized and you're just passing through. It's like a train roaring through a terrain and never looking out the window. We're just A to Z, that's it. But if you're searching for God, you develop a hyper or heightened sensitivity, and you slow down just to see what's around you. And then you have to learn simply not to take things for granted. The tree is not just a tree, and the leaf is not just a leaf, and the earth is not just the earth. What made that tree? What made that earth? See? You have to, no one told you to ask the questions. We just accept it as stuff and we move on. But the way you find profound answers is by asking profound questions. See? The way you find profound answers is by asking profound questions. I remember with my own Guruji, because I was his attendant, most of the questions that came to him, that, many, thousands of people constantly asking him questions. But I used to marvel at the lack of depth of questions. It's like going to some great master. Well, in the case, my Guruji is a great master. And asking him, really like, what food should I feed my cat? You're standing with a master and you're asking about cat food. I mean, your cat. You love your cat. It's important to you. It's important to you. But you're standing next to a person who has traveled the entire arc of human evolution. And reached the kingdom, a state of pure, perfect sanctity. And you're asking him some simple, mundane question. Do I want the Toyota or the Honda, Guruji? But I'll tell you the truth. A lot of the questions were that silly. When will I get a girlfriend, Guruji? He's a representative, a denizen of the kingdom itself. So ask an appropriate question. Ask a question that's going to advance your evolution, because that's why he's here. He's here. Those souls are here to advance your evolution. So, you must have deep inquiry and big questions. Big questions give big answers. So, one must develop. I'm going back to some of the early things I just said, only because new people have come in the room. The preface to seeking God, or to knowing God, or to experiencing God, is curiosity. We must develop curiosity. What is God? What is truth? What is life? Those questions must be asked. It must be a constant. You have to get up with that question. You have to get up with that question. Because if you don't, you're not going to be looking. You're not going to be paying attention. Most humans live on autopilot. They get a set of functional habits, and then they just engage it the moment they step out of the bed, and they're on autopilot. Maybe 2% consciousness, rest of percent autopilot. See? Completely conditioned behavior. Conditioned responses. Quite reflexive. Not a whole lot of deep insight involved in it. That's why the yogis are constantly telling you to slow down. slow down and concentrate. Slow down and concentrate. Because they don't want you to miss what's going on around you. Because you're wrapped up in habitual patterns of behavior and thinking and responses and responding. Those habitual patterns blind you. They absolutely blind you. So the yogis say, slow down, slow down. They say make haste slowly. You know, pay attention. See? And then there's two great schools, the Tantric school, the Vedantic school. And both are valid. Both will get you there. And blending them is also very, very valuable. Tantric school wants you to see every element of life as divine. They want you to discover that process, that every element of life is divine. It's just you have to look at it deeply, and then it'll self-manifest its own wonder. The Vedantic school wants you to remember that all this is one manifestation. They don't look at it as elements. They look at it as one manifestation of the divine. Also, absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. So these are the things we keep in our mind. But for the human situation, the tantric approach is very, very valuable. The reason is that it's a very tangible path. You're dealing with elements, you're dealing with things, and then you're searching for the origins of those things. You know, that's why you have all these elaborate pujas. You know, you're ringing the bell, you have the incense, you have the candles, you know, you have the mantras going. That's pure tantra. All of your senses are being engaged. Your sense of sight is being engaged, your sense of smell is being engaged, your sense of taste is being engaged, you know, the food is being offered, then the prasad for the food. Pure tantra. Pure tantra. That all of those elements in those pujas are tools to make you discover and remember the divine. And it's engaging all of your senses. Your sense of taste, your sense of touch, your sense of hearing. You see? Even the mind is considered a sense. All engaged. That's why puja is there. It engages all your senses. You know, to think, you know, if the idea misses you, the sound will catch you. See? If the sound misses you, the sight will catch you. See? If the sight, you missed it by sight, the scent of the incense will catch you. See? These are all divine methodology to draw you in, you know, to make you experience something, to make you wonder. Wonder. See? So, the conventional notion of Tantra in this country is profoundly juvenile. Profoundly juvenile. They think of just sexuality. So if you had all of the books of the Library of Congress, you know, sensuality or sexuality would just be one paragraph in one book. See? As where they think the whole Library of Congress is sexuality. It's profoundly juvenile. Profoundly juvenile. Is sexuality sacred? Yes, it is. But you have to look at it in the context of the entire library, which is the library of life, library of your experience. See? All the elements, if looked at correctly, are sacred. All the elements, if looked at incorrectly, can be profane. See? You know, how do we scar the earth? How do we scar the river? How do we pollute the sky? Because we looked at the world, we looked at the elements of life without reverence, without respect, without deep insight. So we can harm the earth, we can harm the trees, we can harm the rivers, we can harm the mountaintops in the sky. See? Because incorrect perception. See? So we treat the earth in a profane way. We foul it. You know? But if you look at the Native Americans and many native cultures, they look at the earth and the world in a sacred way. See, so acquiring a lot of simple practices, and I will get to that, but there's a long preface so that you can make it useful, potent. You have to create a correct context. And then in that correct context of how to approach the world, how to see the world, how to experience the world, within that context, you start to do these simple practices. Does that make sense? If you have a whole bunch of sacred practices and you don't have the proper context, you're not going to get much results. That's why the world's not filled with yogis. They read all these yoga manuals, and their psyche is there's a just say simply much pollution and much distortion. So you take these sacred processes and you put it in a polluted environment or an insubstantial environment. Not good results. You know, you have to have the correct environment in order to get correct results. You know, the environment is as important as the process itself. You know, you take this human body and you stick it under the water, well, there's life for a moment, but it's the wrong environment for me to persist. So this body becomes non-functional in the wrong environment. You put it up here with plenty of fresh air, it becomes highly functional. See? So no matter how much correct things you have, if you put it in the wrong environment, the results are very, very poor. See? So we have to realize that context is as important as methodology. See? I can't light a match under the ocean. I might have perfect technique, but that match is not going to light. I take that same match with good technique and strike it here, we have a flame. See? So we have to think about these things. We have to think that context is really, 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 really important. Not just technique. You have, like from the 60s in this country, USA, you know, you have this revolution of inquiry into consciousness. But the results have been very so-so. So-so. Not exceptional. You know how you know that? How many saints has it produced? See? If your methodology and the context is correct, you're going to definitely be producing mystics. You're going to definitely be producing yogis. You're going to definitely be producing saints. And occasionally, from that cadre of saints, a master will arise. See? So you know by your results. See? So it means that the level of application, inquiry, and context, that methodology has not yet been perfected. Now you look at a nation like India, and that is the land of saints. That is the land of yogi. It absolutely is the land of masters. There's no doubt about it. You know, the sanctity of that nation goes to the center of the earth and then out into the infinity. They are producing saints. They are producing yogis. See? They are producing masters. It's a fact. It's a fact. It's in their bones. It's there. They might not have the material prosperity that the U.S. has, but they have profound spiritual prosperity. We have material prosperity. They have spiritual prosperity. See? And their producing of saints and masters and mystics, it's the arc of the effect will have a long arc. And each of those masters, each of those mystics, each of those saints, their effect will happen. It will go on for generations and generations, generations and generations. See? We can't say that yet with our engineering. The effect of our engineering, our car might last 20 years, and then we've got to replace it. But the spiritual insight that's been generated in the East will go on tens of thousands of years. It'll go on for eons. There's no breakdown. There's no replacements. Once those experiences are breathed into one's own spirit, one's own awareness, it's forever. It's forever. It doesn't go away. It doesn't break down. It doesn't decay. See? Both are necessary, but one is very short term. It's from cycle to cycle, quarter to quarter in America. And the other is an arc of time. So now we'll talk a little bit about just this, start to develop a body of simple practices. So even when we wake up in the morning, don't get out of bed right away, Wake up, become aware, take a breath, and then whatever your favorite name of God is, say that name. Ram, Ram, Ram Krishna, Hey Ma, Jai Ma, whatever, Jesus, Hey Buddha, whatever your favorite name of divinity is, say it. That'll become the key to open the morning. See, it's your first thought. See, before you dive into the chaos of life. And then if you have a favorite prayer, even while you're lying in bed, because that prayer also is a tool of intention. That whatever your favorite prayer is, and if you don't have a favorite prayer, either find one or write one. Either find one or write one. Because normally we get out of bed and we're just in this sort of get this done, and run. We didn't determine a thread or a type of context to the day. See? We just get up and run. I got to do this, I got to do that, So we didn't reorient ourselves to our root sanctity. So if you didn't remember that sanctity when you opened your eyes in the morning, then the rest of the day it's a bit helter-skelter because you didn't start off with that intention. See? So I'm saying to create an early morning intention where when you open your eyes, don't jump up right away. Take a breath and say God's name. And then say a prayer, because that prayer is the hidden inner psychic road for the day. You may be doing all of your executive stuff, all of your engineering stuff, all of your family planning, all the stuff that you have to do is there. But hidden behind it should be that prayer as part of your psychic context for the day. See? It's what that prayer in the name of God will form the environment in which you do all the other stuff. See? You got to get all the other stuff done. But instead of just a random context, do it in the context of I started off prayerfully. I started off in remembrance. Every saint has mastered the art of persistent, constant remembrance of the divine. So you have to get that habit. You live and die by your habits. Okay? So that's an immediate, simple thing. And then you rush off to the bathroom. You clear your bowels, your bladder. You wash in the shower. And I remember when I'm throwing the water on my face, washing my face in the morning. So that water is splashing on my face. So I have that abundance of water, as we all do here in America. But I simply stop in my mind quietly. I say a prayer, may all have this. may all have this water. See? It's not just for me, but this is a gift from God. So, in our heart, we know the beauty of it. We want everyone to have it. We want everyone to have water, easily available. So, quiet prayer as we're washing our face. See? So after that, whatever element of life you consider sacred, whether you have a Guruji, whether it's the good intentions of your ancestors, whether it's elements of nature, everybody should have developed some type of a shrine in their house. So in the morning, or favorite saint, if you can't find a favorite saint, you're actually rather dull. It means you really haven't looked. You know, I'm just being honest. You know, start reading the lives of saints. You'll find someone that you think this is fantastic. You know, and if you don't, you haven't looked. You've been being very dull. So there should be some small shrine of that is truly inspirational to you. You know, and then light a candle, do a small arati. You know, wave a light before them in reverence. Because another thing is, there is no such thing as finding God without humility. If you don't have humility, just forget it. I'm being completely honest with you. Just forget the journey. Do something else. You know, go design a car. Write a program or something. Do something else. You're not ready. You know. In this country, unfortunately, but it'll come. It'll grow. This is part of what the Asian culture has to teach to the Western culture, is how to bow their heads, how to be humble, see, how to have a little bit of reverence. You know, the gurus, the teachers, we're all just like proxies. You know, why do you bow before a teacher? It's not that the teacher needs your bowing. He's dealing with the kingdom. He doesn't need your bows. But the teacher stands in as a proxy so that you learn, and it's not this clay pot. It's what's hidden in his or her heart that you're actually showing some reverence towards. See? So the teacher stands in as a proxy for the elements of God so that you can learn to humbly bow simplistically. There's no lessening of yourself. There's actually a magnifying of your spirit. See? But we bow with ego, so we think, oh, I'm bowing, I must be lesser. This is very juvenile, foolish. No insight. When you bow honestly, you're magnifying your spirit. See? You're giving your spirit an opportunity to manifest. You're minimizing your big ego, which is blocking you from seeing the kingdom. See? So everybody has to learn how to bow. You know? You go anywhere in Asia, you see everyone bowing before the teachers. And they've been doing it for tens of thousands of years. Do you think they've all been making a mistake? Or did they all find some element of spirit, whether knowingly or unknowingly, realizing that is absolutely significant? See? When you see an image of Jesus on his knees in the Garden of Gethsemane looking up and praying, he's bowing before the kingdom itself. Before the kingdom itself. If that great soul can get down on his knees and bow, what about you? What about you? You know, get a heads up. You know, get a little humble. You know, if you want to know God, be humble. There's no such thing as a proud saint with his chest blown out. Not going to happen. There's no pride before that God. There's no pride before that. We're all tiny, infinitely small before that. See? So we have to learn that kind of humility. So doing a simple arati in the morning, waving a light before some image of sanctity, image of Krishna, image of Buddha, image of Jesus, or a sacred scripture, Quran, Bible, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, something that inspires you to remember the kingdom. Do it. You live and die by your habits. When you're in the last months of your life, if you don't have these habits, there's no time to develop them. And you're in the process of taking the next step to another realm. And you're going there with no tools. See? There's no boat. If you have acquiring these simple practices, you move from realm to realm to realm with ease. Not with struggle, not with fear, with ease. All the energies of these, if you've been bowing before God in the kingdom all these years, do you think heaven is going to forget you? Do you think heaven is going to forget you when you're moving to a next region? I don't think so. Not at all. See? Don't think when you bow that heaven's not paying attention. Every thought, heaven is observing. Every action, heaven is observing. See? In your time of need, that's what's going to come. That loving humility that you offered will be reciprocated. And with loving humility, you'll be received. You see? You'll be received and brought to the next appropriate kingdom for you. See? You won't tumble in fear as so many people. They tumble into death. Tumble through fear, insecurity, not knowing. See? There's no stability. See? So again, that simple arati, waving a light before elements of the sacred, is really, really important. Again, anybody can do it. What's it take? 3 minutes? 2 minutes? See? But by doing that, you are cultivating your heart. You are cultivating your psyche. You are refining your nature. See? As human beings, we have to become beings of culture. First, it's common culture through the arts and such, and then sacred culture. See? That sacred culture allows you to move into the higher kingdoms. See? If you take a stone, a crude stone, and throw it up into the air, it'll fall back to the earth where it's appropriate. The air itself won't sustain it. It'll go to the appropriate region. It'll fall back to the earth. See? So your own nature, your own inner culture will take you to the next appropriate region. If you're developing sacred culture, you're going to go up, you're going to go up, you're going to go up. See? You feather your own nest. Your own destination is created by you, consciously or unconsciously. Your next destination is created by you. So the arati is important practice. Then as you have more time, you should find some appropriate mantra. Om Shri Rama Jai Rama Jai Jai Rama. Or Gayatri. Om Bhuvasvaha Om Tat Savitur Varenyam Bargo Dipashyadi Diyo Yonaha Prachodhyat. Whatever appropriate. Or the many Devi mantras. Ram mantras, Krishna mantras, Ganapati mantras, Hanuman mantras, Anjaneya, whatever. Find the mantra that's appropriate to your nature. That can be done a few ways by reading the various saints and the mantras that they practice, and if you have some affinity for that particular saint, do that body of mantras. See? Or you ask some teacher. See? Like that. So, but just getting the habit of having mantra in your life. Mantra is a divine utterance. And if you incorporate it into your psyche, it takes the nature of your psyche and makes it like itself. Okay? That's part of the alchemy of mantra. It makes all of your psychic material like itself, which means sanctified. Also, mantra is a living vibrational door to the kingdom. So people are saying, well, I haven't had any experience with God. I don't know if God's there. I'm wondering about it. I hear about it, but I don't know about it. Well, you haven't set up the appropriate situation. By sitting each morning, or at some determined time during the day, and having a mala, a simple mala, and saying God's name 108 times, or the mantra 108 times, or 2 malas, 3 malas, 4 malas, whatever you can incorporate into your day simply. It's creating a vibrational link to the kingdom. So you say that mantra, Om Shri Rama Jai Rama Jai Rama, Om Shri Rama Jai Rama Jai Rama, Om Shri Rama Jai Rama Jai Rama. And then you sit for 5 simple minutes. Because now you've called out to the kingdom. The next intelligent thing to do is be quiet and listen. See? It's like making a phone call, but not stopping to hear the other end. See? So you say God's name many times, and then sit quietly for 5 minutes and learn how to intuitively hear. See? Not hear through your psychological brain. That's not the facility that's being developed. You're learning how to spiritually, quietly listen. How to be still and listen. Why haven't you heard God? Because you have a very, very noisy head. You're thinking this, you're thinking that. This impulse is overtaking you. No quiet. So you say God's name, which purifies and pacifies you, and then you sit simply for 5 minutes, sit quietly, and listen. Don't get caught up in your thoughts. Don't get caught up in your feelings. Don't get caught up in your impulses. Just quietly listen for 5 minutes. Whatever you need to know, you will be informed. In that little bit of time, heaven will open its gates and give you what you need to know that day. You will be informed. Your nature, your character, your insight, you will be informed. Really simple. Not technical. Anybody can do it. Anybody can do it. So again, that's a simple practice. Utterance of God's name. Utterance of mantra. But you got to take it seriously. You got to take it seriously. How do you learn to take it seriously? Well, start reading biographies of saints and figure out how they became a saint. You'll find out there was either a radical persistent prayer or a radical persistent mantra, radical persistent meditation, or any combination of it. You'll find it in all of them. All of them. So again, it's a heads up. If they've made this journey, don't you think it's a good idea to read their map? Instead of fumbling through on your own? Find someone who's been successful and get next to them. That's really simple. That's what you got to do. Whether they're current or in the past, they all leave, or many of them leave, a dialogue and a map and a process in which we can emulate. We can do their experiments, and find our own results. But you have to do the experiments honestly. See? So that mantra, and then just simple 5 minutes. Later on, when you want to play deeper practices, then it's half hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, like that. But that's later, when you really got that. I want to do it. But you have to build up, build up, build up. finding a favorite aspect of God is important, and it's actually sort of a fun search, especially in Hinduism, where there's the vision is an infinite aspects of God and seeing the sanctity in all of them. So there's many, many, many names of God, thousands and thousands of names of God. So it's sort of fun to look at the different meanings and then learn how to chant that. In the beginning, you're just sort of chanting with your head, but later on, this is a wonderful thing that happens. The moment you start to chant, you can feel it inside of your whole inner being starts to shake. It's really quite wonderful. You viscerally feel it. It's not just a thought. It's an experience. It's quite lovely. So, as you just surrender to the mantra, its meaning and its potency, let it do its own thing, and it'll happen inside you. So, during the course of the day, again, as human beings, we all experience fear, major and minor. Little insecurities is a type of fear. Or, I'm standing in the street and the bus driver doesn't see me and he's coming my way. That's like a big fear. Please stop the bus. That's a big fear. But instead of just experiencing fear and think, phew, the bus driver saw me, I have another day. Instead of that experience, or all the micro insecurities that we have, that we feel, will they see me this way? Will they see me that way? Will they think of me this way? Will they talk about me that way? All that 10,000 little stings. Any time you have the arising of fear, simply say God's name. A lot of times you'll see my lips moving. Later on, there's more sophisticated ways of practicing. But I'll always be saying Ram Krishna, Ram Krishna, Ram Krishna, Ram Krishna. Like when I shake someone's hand and meet someone, it's instinctual. Ram Krishna, Ram Krishna, Ram Krishna. It's always there. That has nothing to do with, in that case, it's a type of blessing, but also it's a bridge. We're standing on a bridge. So if you're meeting a person, I want to meet them with God's name. See, and if there's various fears coming, the little thorns of life, Ram Krishna, Ram Krishna, Ram Krishna, Ram Krishna, Ram Krishna. See? So that you're changing the context. So it's not just fear. It's fear in the presence of God. So what's going to have the greater potency? You have to learn. See, we have the habit of letting ourselves emotionally rest in fear and being fearful. What if you say, okay, well, I'm going to add something to the mix. I'm going to add God's name. So instead of leaning to the left, I can lean to the right. The fear will be there, but I'm going to have a fearful state while I rest with God, while I stand with God. Haricharan, Ram Krishna, Ram Krishna. Don't you think that's going to change the context of that fear? It certainly will. It certainly will. You're not just polluted with fear, but you're injecting a divine energy into that context. More clarity, more rest, more stability, more sanctity. See? Don't just experience by itself. Inject that divine energy. See? Over time, less and less fear. Because you're not on unstable ground. You're standing on the ground of the kingdom. The moment you utter God's name, you're standing on the ground of the kingdom. You're not standing on the ground of your fragile ego. See? Your minuscule vision. See? That's very unstable. Let God's name become your fundamental stability. So you say God's name in all contexts. See? In joyous moments and in fearful moments. It creates a sacred ground, a sacred context. See? It becomes part of your nature, part of your being. Ram Krishna, Ram Krishna, Haricharan, Jaima. It's all good. It's all good. These are little things, but it's little things that make you more than a common human being. A common human being is a fragile, curious, fearful creature. You know? It's not what you are. Humanness is just a moment in your evolution. It's not the resolve. It's not the completion. It's just part of your evolution, the human experience. It's not where you're going to stop. See? It's just a moment of your experience through time. See? So, the whole yoga process is about evolution. Evolution of how do you say that? This expression of God, which is currently embodied, how does it have full knowledge of the truth? That's what we are. You know, right now we're an unenlightened expression of God, unaware. But in the evolutionary process, we have to come to full awareness of God, or that reality, the reality. See? But one of the tools is to constantly say the name of God, so that we acquire a sanctified platform, and then over time we'll think, see, and experience through that sanctified platform. See? Right now we're thinking through a very random process. Everybody in this room, their minds are all completely different. Different experiences, different perceptions. There's no common platform that you're using. You know, there's no one stable program that you're using. You're all using whatever you made up along the way. But if we all, regardless of our infinite personal experience, if we all Ram Krishna, Ram Krishna, Ram Krishna, and understood the inner meaning of that, because you could be saying Jesus, 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 you could be saying Buddha, whatever. But if you understand the inner meaning of that, we all have a common platform at that point. We all have a common point of reference, a common point of understanding, a common point of sanctity. So if we have a common point of sanctity, where's the conflict? See? The conflict is no more there. It becomes like a garden of flowers, of infinite flowers. There's no conflict. They're just all different expressions of divine experience. But the context is sacred. See? So we have to slowly develop that inner culture. So why aren't the saints fighting with everybody? Because they're looking past your personality, past your ego, to the sanctity hidden within you. No conflict. Reverence and love. Because they're looking past, what you've done to what the kingdom has done. See? So there's no conflict. Gandhi moved from a common man to a saint, to a master. And he faced all the things of life, but he learned to look beyond the common mind to the sacred heart of man. And then there was no conflict anymore. Conflict ceased for him because he saw the heart, the sacred heart of man. See? Conflict was over, fear was over. Conflict and fear died in that life. See? He can do it, we can do it. We just have to get the context, the habits. So these body of simple habits. So anytime you feel fear, head on, head on, head on, head on, head on. See? Always embrace the kingdom. We're embracing mother, brother, sister, friend, psychologist, who are as fragile as we are. So why are you looking for stability in something that is inherently fragile? I know a lot of psychologists, a lot. They themselves should be patients. I don't want psychologists to feel bad. But I know a lot of psychologists. And there's a lot of issues going on there. God bless them all. Peace. So, if you have a a great master that says, grab onto God's name. You know, and then you have some person, psychologist or physician say, you know, take this tablet. Now, who do you really want to listen to? You know, the one who has gone through this great arc and acquired some substantive experience, or some, you know, human being with very limited resources. You know, trust the saints, trust the masters, trust them with your life. You know, trust them with your life, and then follow their advice. If they say pray, pray. If they say chant God's name, chant God's name. If they say sit still and know God, sit still and know God. See, this is part of your humility, to learn that there is a body of wisdom that we have yet not attained, but is attainable. And there are those souls who have attained it. So get next to them. You know, their literature is there. Sometimes they're embodied. Get next to them one way or the other. Hold on, take their advice, go for it. Don't always think, oh, I'm a puny human being, oh, I've got this problem, I got that problem, my nose is too big, my bottom's too big. Forget all that stuff. Forget all of it. Forget all of it. You know, your job is to magnify your spirit. See? Forget all the body stuff. Just get over it. Get over it. Concentrate on your spirit, on cultivating an environment where your spirit can become magnified. See? And that's by all of these simple practices. It allows the spirit to exercise itself. You want another simple practice? And sometimes you have to carry a little notebook. Each person that you engage with during the course of a day. So think about it. In the course of a day, how many clerks do you engage with? Usually quite a few. You know, we go into this store, this store, this store. We go into various stores all day long, the lunch counter and all this. We should slowly mark in our mind the different people that we've had to engage with. And then say a prayer for their welfare. See? These are people that you don't know, that you have no personal relationship with, but you can become an instrument of the kingdom in your own personal life just by keeping a register of the people that you've met during the course of the day. And then at some time, whether it's in your lunchtime or whether it's evening time, go through that psychic register of people and say a simple altruistic prayer. May they be well. You can make a more elaborate prayer if you want, but some direct, may they be well, and go through that person. May God bless them. You're not asking for anything. You're just trying to evoke God to bless this person. You're trying to simply be an agent or a tool of God's blessings to reach that person. So even on just a purely psychological level, you're developing the habit of altruism. On a deeper spiritual level, because you're opening your heart and in a sincere way saying, God, please bless this person. I have no idea why I met that person today. I have no idea why. You know, or maybe I was just getting a sandwich. But God, may that person be blessed. May they be well. May there be peace. Your heart, it becomes an instrument where that blessing will come from the kingdom, flow into your heart, and flow to that person. You will become an agent of the kingdom just by acquiring that habit. You're constantly, every time you say a prayer for the welfare of others, you are going through a psychic purification. You are becoming a better being and a better instrument for the kingdom. So getting that habit of praying for people, regardless of their age, their height, their race, their skinny, fat, that you become a universal prayer. You get that habit of becoming a universal prayer. You don't think you're becoming an instrument of the kingdom by doing that? And how much has it cost you? It didn't cost you anything. Are you radically advancing your evolution? Absolutely. Absolutely. You are becoming an instrument of the kingdom by simply saying prayers for people with no personal vested interest. You have no personal vested interest. It's just be well. Goodness for the sake of goodness. See? That's a little bit more complicated, but it's a simple practice. Simple practice. Getting that psychic registry and just saying, and also it'll improve your memory. But don't you think by doing that 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 10 years, don't you think what the quality of the person you are becoming? You are who you made yourself to be. So by praying, having that prayerful attitude for others, regardless of their condition, don't you think when you're stepping out of this body, what the quality of being you are at that point? Don't you think you're moving towards sanctity? You certainly are. Don't die. My attitude is don't die a human being. Really, why? Why? Don't die a common human being. You really missed the ball if you die like that. You really missed the ball. You missed the purpose of coming here. See? This whole place is to create infinite opportunities for your sanctity. That's why this planet is here. Don't miss the ball. So, you acquire that simple habit of praying for others, praying for others. See, if you're going to be a common human being, inherent in that is a profound selfishness. Whether it's conscious or unconscious, it's very selfish. It's me, 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 me. What I want, what I can get, what I can experience. That's not the way of the saints. The way of the saints, they're the instruments of the kingdom. See? They are the instruments of the kingdom. So that's true evolution. That's true evolution. See? Evolution meaning the magnification and the expression of the spirit. See? So these are the types of quiet habits that you don't talk to a lot. You don't talk to your friends about a lot. They won't understand in general. But you just start to build this spiritual disposition of humility before God, remembrance of God, and praying for the blessings of God to bless all. See? Again, over time, more purification, more sanctity, and more intimacy. See? You're not looking at people and things just as things, objects going by, just the clerk, just the blade of grass. You're acquiring an empathy, a sensitivity, see? And then you're acquiring the ability to hold and manifest a blessing of God. See? By you saying prayers, you're purifying yourself. You will be able to hold a divine charge, and that charge will pass through you. You become a conduit. And I'm telling you, this is actually a visceral experience. It's not like a psychologist saying, say, some affirmation, which is good. The affirmations are good. But these are visceral experiences. Your internal sensitivity will become heightened, and you'll feel a rush, like a breeze, pass through you and rush through you. You'll feel it. It's not just a thought, It's actually a visceral experience. You will come to have the experience of what would be called sacred touch. That when you touch something, you actually are blessing it. Now that will really turn your head around, to have that experience. Because normally when we touch things, pick this up, do this, just stuff, just common feeling. Later on, because you're saying prayers, and because you have no vestiges of vested interest other than the will of God, whatever God wants, that's what I want. And then you say, you're having an altruistic thought. Through your hand will rush a current. You'll feel it. It'll rush through you. See? It's quite shocking in the beginning. It's quite shocking. You know, it's really amazing. I can bless something? Who, me? It's quite a shocking experience that God will use you as an instrument. Because you don't think like that most of your life. And all of a sudden, this stuff starts happening to you. Where that you feel the rush of God rush through you. You know, and head off to wherever that prayer was going. Quite amazing. Quite amazing. But it's part of it's part of the human experience, the divine human experience. See, if you create the right conditions. You know, you can create the right conditions. And then this is quite natural. Acquiring sacred touch is quite natural. See? It's not something like you labor towards or you try to acquire. Oh, I want this ability. If you want it, you've already lost. You've already disqualified yourself. This can't be something you seek. See? Just create the conditions of loving, peaceful altruism. And these things are self-occurring. There's no struggle for it, no trying for it, none of that. If you're trying, you've already missed the point. You've already lost. Just make yourself fit and then observe what God does. That's the truth of it. So people are trying to, I want this psychic power, I want that psychic power. They've already missed the point. They've already lost. They've already lost. They have no idea. They're already in the ditch, off the road. See? All of those things are quite natural. Quite natural. But simply make yourself fit. You know, make yourself fit. Be humble. Seek true intimacy. Seek empathy. Seek compassion. You know. Be humble before God. Remember God ceaselessly. Get that habit. And then everything happens quite naturally, quite beautifully. No labor. No struggle. See? No struggle at all. Happens, just happens. You know. It's like learning how to float. If you struggle, you sink. If you relax, you float. See? That's how it is. So, again, these are simple practices that you incorporate in your day. Another simple practice is, and I highly recommend this, is read every biography of the saints that you can get your hands on. Read them all. You know? They're all roadmaps, they're all inspiration, and they're all a type of heads up to your future of what's possible, what's doable. But you have to properly inform yourself. So, and really, the lives of saints are grand adventures, you know. And the context of their life is every horrible thing happens to them, and every sacred thing happens to them. So, like we think that, you know, the process to sanctity should be this sort of Disneyland journey of adventure. Well, that's just not realistic. You know, look at Gandhi's life. He was in prison, in and out, in and out, in and out. His life was threatened all the time. Every time he put his foot out in his kutir, his life was threatened. That's the real deal. You know, he was committed to God, come what may. Come what may. See? So you have to get a realistic view. You think, oh, I'm searching for God, I love God, I want God. Why am I having these headaches? Well, that's just part of life. You know, don't expect an easy journey. Expect a journey. That's it. Expect a journey. Don't expect, you know, this kumbaya Disneyland. Just read the lives of saints and see the level of struggle. They go through terrific struggle. But because they're maintaining this pure heart, reverential heart to God, they also, through that very difficult struggle, come to deep intimacy with God. See? So if you're thinking, oh, I don't want my skin pricked, well, you're going to be a human a very, very long time. You won't find the kingdom. But if you say, God, I love you, I'm interested, I don't understand you, but I want to find you, then get the attitude of come what may. I'm on this journey, come what may. See? Now you have a mature insight. Whatever you're saying, God, whatever it takes. I'm not putting conditions on finding you. See? We all want a soft bed, sweet music, fine food, God bless you, good luck. Your feet will be rooted to this earth for a very long time. But when you say come what may, then it means just that. Whether it's a sunny day or a hurricane, you're still stepping forward. You're still going to pray. You're going to still remember. You're going to still have a kind action. See? Come what may. You are forging a sacred disposition. If everything was always fair, kind, and sweet, are you really going to forge a strong, sacred disposition if it's never been challenged? See? Without the challenges, you don't have the opportunity to practice these divine qualities under all circumstances. It has to be tested. It's a fire. Part of this world is a fire that we have to step into. It's a big kill, to purify us, to make us strong in our attitude towards God. See? So it's not just when everything is going well, God is great. And then when things are not so well, God, I don't know about God. What's He done for me today? That kind of humanness, that's got to go. You got to go. You have to. The spirit must trump the flesh, and you have to constantly practice that. And spirit trumping the flesh. So the habit of persistent prayer and persistent mantra and persistent remembrance. That's spirit trumping flesh. And you have to just do it. You're remaking yourself. So these are many simple practices. Are there any thoughts about what I've said or discussed? Yes, Sylvia.
I think I wonder about your shrine. Should it always be the same place that you sit and meditate at, or sit?
It can virtually be anywhere. You don't have to just have one shrine. Mm-hmm. You can have a micro shrine in your meditation spot, mm-hmm. and you can have a shrine somewhere else in the house. Mm-hmm. This is also a thing that I see often. Is a lot of times people hide their shrines. Mm-hmm. Hey, one of the things I love about Jewish culture, they wear this yarmulke on their head. They say, I am a Jew. Mm-hmm. They're proud of it. They're not hiding their yarmulke under their vestments or something, their clothing. No. They say, this is part of my identity. I have great respect for that. I have really great respect for that. They're not... There's a dignity and an integrity to that. Mm-hmm. The same thing when we have our shrines. I go into a lot of houses and people hide their shrine away. It's like, they don't want people to know that this is a part of their personality. They say, well, this is just for me. But no. Like, look at us. We wear this yellow. There's no hiding when you walk around wearing this. You have to put God first. You have to say, look, whether they think this way or they think that way, God bless them all. This is who I am. This is what I do. This is who I am. This is what I do. You have to acquire that strength in you. Don't hide these things. You have to say, this is part of my disposition. Part of my disposition is a love for sanctity. So it should be there. as like any other element of your life. You know, you can have your sports trophies here and your shrine there. Well, you love sports, no problem. You love God, no problem. It should be just part of your existence, not hidden away. See?
Should your meditation spot be a little hidden away?
Your meditation spot is not a question of hiding it away. It's a question of having a sanctified spot that is used just for one process that people are not trampling through. See? It's sequestered because it's not a zone for people to be walking through or people fiddling with the objects. See? So that is usually sequestered a little bit just so that it's not in the highway of life. See? The children aren't jumping in there and playing and people are not walking over the meditation. That's a sanctified spot. So it has to be kept just for that. You know, so you don't put your meditation spot in a place that people are walking through and doing all kinds of activities. See, you're just sort of maintaining the sanctity of the spot. You know? Because people are a broadcast tower, often mostly of chaos, and what you want is in your meditation spot, you want to develop a sanctified vibration that's localized to that spot. See? Not constant interruption of highly variant energies. See? So that's why you have your meditation spot sanctified and put aside. But your shrine, and you can have multiple shrines, should be part of your living personal disposition as this is part of who I am. See? It shouldn't be hidden. And it's also there as an inspiration to people, or as a prod for them to think about the divine. So you're doing a seva by having a shrine in a public place, you know, like in a living room. You know. So these are, again, simple things, you know. But your search for God should not be hidden. It shouldn't be boasted over. It should just be part of the context of who you are. You know, this is part of my search. Just like you went to school, you got your degrees. It's just part of who you are and part of your living experience. Part of who you are and part of your living experience is the wonder and the search for God. That's also part of my disposition. See, it shouldn't be hidden. No, this is just part of who I am. See? Keep balance and honesty, integrity. You know? Yes.
How do you create a mantra if you don't have a religious affiliation or you're connected to a different religion than Hinduism, for example, or Buddhism?
Well, the premise of your statement is not quite correct. Well, it's not correct. Because you don't create a mantra. There's no such thing as that. You do not create a mantra. You can create an affirmation. That you can do. A positive statement. Mantra is a gift from the kingdom. Mantra is the grace of God. The origins of mantra are the realization of sanctified beings, the realization of saints and masters, hearing the various vibrations of God, and God blessing them to know the potency of that vibration. And then they become a holder and a deliverer of that message. Practice this mantra, it'll do this. Practice this mantra, it'll do that. See? So mantra is a process of revelation, which is purely a spiritual event. It's not a process of human creation. It's something that's occurring in the kingdom, that's revealed to the saints and masters, and they deliver it here in the earth region. See? So you can't create a mantra, but you can create an affirmation.
So if a person has no religious affiliation, let's say they call themselves spiritual, what do they do in that case?
In that case, they can affiliate with some prayer that has deep spiritual significance to them, or and they can do that as a japa, as a persistent repetition, or they can seek out a meaningful, and humanitarian affirmation, meaning a non-selfish affirmation. See? And then constantly work on that as a psychological process. See? And then they'll advance. See? It's part of the mind culture. If you say a prayer, it's not only mind culture, but it draws in the sacred more immediately. The affirmation will work more psychologically, but useful, very, very useful. Prayer will work both psychologically and it'll draw in the sacred. See? God listens. Really, God listens. There's no such thing as an unheard prayer. It's just not possible. You're speaking the language of God the moment you pray. And it's not necessarily the words. It's the feeling. It's received. It's received. So as you go through that process of affirmation and of sacred prayer, that will lead you into a faith, see, or a religious tradition, or it will lead you to a mystic, a saint, a yogi, or a some where you can gather clarity, some realization, and then you'll embrace what's appropriate. The appropriate mantra for your state of evolution will become manifest. See, so just because you're at one point not faith and unaffiliated doesn't mean at another point you won't have deeper faith, deeper realization, and affiliation. See? And whether your affiliation is Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Hindu, Buddhist, Zoroastrian, Native American, doesn't make any difference at all. Because none of those guys exist in the kingdom. The kingdom is full of spirits, divine spirit. The context of religion is developed here for our convenience. It's just a different ladder, a different historical ladder, different historical context in which the sacred was, stirring the pot. See? There's no Jews, Christians, Hindus, Muslims in the kingdom. Just lovers of the kingdom, lovers of the God. Those differences are here. If I have profound love in my heart, and you have profound love in your heart, is there any difference? If I experience silence, and you experience silence, is there any difference? See? Same thing there. The glory of God is there. That's it. That's it. So, yes.
I really like what you said about doing the chanting or japa and then observe the silence to listen. And I've been doing chanting all my life, as a kid, and then at different phases of my life I've been doing different mantras and all that, but never did what you said, like after finishing the chanting, listen. I finish and I go, right? That's how I've been. So and partly because there is something else lined up right after that.
Exactly.
So I like to do that practice, what you said, that listen. Question I have is, I guess what you said was, when you listen, you will be guided of what you need to do or what you should do, right? What I wanted to ask you was, what about some deeper questions in life, like when, and it's not spiritual questions, but more like, what decision one should make about certain important things in life, right? How do like one get answers to those questions? Most of the time those are driven by fears or insecurities or lack of knowledge. How one can make more deeper and important decisions,
Okay, this is a long and deep a discussion that has to be had. So we'll speak in short because we don't have that time, but this is something that I can discuss over a long period of time. first, like if you're just a basic good Hindu, you learn all of these mantras. But a lot of times it's like going to church, where you learn just to show up, but your mind's not really engaged. You know, you sort of, I do it, okay, I'm good to go. I did it, I finished my obligations, I'm out of here. Really, if we're just chanting mantra, we've done sort of the elementary practice, so in the beginning practice. But then we should actually, from a philosophical point of view, just to try to understand the mantra, its symbolic meaning, its metaphoric meaning, and then we have to look for, with every mantra we practice, let's say whatever your favorite mantra is, there's an important question you have to ask yourself. And there's a wonderful search that you must make. Where do I see that energy in life? See, because if we're just saying, Om Shri Rama Jai Rama Jai Rama, Om Shri Rama Jai Rama Jai. So, are we doing real good for ourselves? Yes, we are. But we have to go deeper into the mantra to say, what is that energy? What is that Ram energy? What is that energy? And then you have to look for it in the world. Where do I see it in the world? Because with all mantra, you have to develop intimacy. See? It has to be part of your environment. See? So that's really important because it gets more full. And then the state in which we do the mantra. So when we say Om Shri Rama Jai Rama Jai Rama, Om Shri Rama Jai Rama. A lot of times when we're saying those prayers, that mantra, we're thinking about, I got a 3 o'clock appointment, and so-and-so's coming over at noon, and gee, have I got that report done? That's all going on in the back of our mind. We have to learn how to put the affairs of the world in suspension. We don't toss it out. We just put it in suspension. So when you're saying mantra, you are sitting with God. That's how you have to think about it. It's just you and me, God. Just see whatever that deity is present. And then I'm just going to spend time with you. I'm just going to spend time just with you. Om Shri Rama Jai Rama Jai Rama. Om Shri Rama Jai Rama Jai Rama. Om Shri Rama Jai Rama Jai Rama. In the beginning there's a little anxiety, but over time we'll relax. And we're just spending time with God through vibration. See? So there has to be a relaxation in our psyche, in our being, where we sort of just blend with that sound. That just becomes, we're like resting on water in a way, just resting in the vibration. As you do that, slowly but surely, your intuitive sense is going to grow. Especially when you're not doing with anxiety, or I have to get to do such and such. So you can put a little timer on and forget the timer. It'll get to you when it gets to you. But emotionally, completely relax in that mantra, and be aware of the nature or the aspect of that divinity as inherently present, not just a bunch of words, but that deity is physically present. And then relax into it and just completely be with it. And at the end of that period, then you can have just simple, deep, profound, restful silence. And then you can say a prayer, Hey Bhagavan, these are things that trouble my heart. These are questions I have. Hey Bhagavan, please. And then ask the question. And then sit another 5 minutes. And just know that somehow, some way, heaven will show you. You're just giving yourself in confidence. Sometimes, all of a sudden, in your head, the knowledge will come. Or you go out into the world, and then someone will say something, and that'll make you think, oh, that's what. Or you'll see something. Somehow, heaven will show you. I'll tell you a micro experience. This is several times, actually many times I've almost kicked the bucket, so all kinds of crazy ways. All kinds of ways death has come past my door. But one time I was in the ocean, and I was, maybe chest high, just walking in the water, and my foot went into a sinkhole, and it sunk me down to my knee. I was absolutely trapped. I wiggled this way, pulled that way, pulled this way. I could not get out. And the tide is coming in, and every single time I moved, I sunk deeper. So at one point, I'm like this with the water, And at that time, you have time to think, And your mind is concentrated, I'm thinking, okay, God, this is it for me. I didn't anticipate to leave this world this way. Hey, Bhagavan, hey, Bhagavan. So I just completely relaxed because I figure there's only maybe 4 or 5 minutes left of life because, I'm here at this point and it's not that far to get to here. Mm-hmm. And the people can't see me on the beach and I'm sinking deeper and deeper. And every time I move, my leg goes deeper into the water. I just get sucked into this hole. So, I'm not flailing, I'm not screaming. Maybe I should have done those things, but I didn't. I just said a prayer because I thought, this is my last day. This is it. So, hey God. So I'm with God. Hey Rama, hey Rama, hey Rama. And I'm waiting to be pulled under now. And then just before I get to my nose, in my mind comes a show I had seen in my childhood about how to get out of quicksand. I saw some little snippet on some show 20 some odd years ago about how to get out of quicksand. And what it was, it said to lean the body to break the seal. So I just reached, I leaned forward, and my leg slipped right out. Right before I was to be pulled under. That thought came to my mind of something I had seen in my childhood, on some nature program. And I did exactly what it said, and my leg slipped right out.
Thank you. That could save my life someday.
Yeah.
I almost drowned 3 times.
Yeah. So it's, at that point it was okay, God, I'm yours. Come with me. And he let me loose in that moment. See? Mm-hmm. So it wasn't me relying on my fear, this and that. No, I just said God's name. This is my time. And in that moment I was released. See? So these kinds of things happen. These kinds of things happen.
I appreciated what you say about don't leave this world, don't die before us an ordinary human.
Exactly.
Just a few days ago, I was watching this nature film of how a lion would hunt down and kill an animal, and I saw how every life when they died, I just saw like what a demon is. It's like when you die in horror and you haven't developed anything in you.
Right.
That would be like being taken by the demon.
Yeah.
And if you can live like what let there be what may come,
Come what may. Yeah.
Come what may, and you're prepared.
Yeah, stand with God.
It's a different experience of leaving the world.
Yeah.
Than dying like a food for a wild animal or a demon.
Yeah.
So I appreciated that.
Yeah, that comes with a habit of constantly remembering God, constantly saying God's name. So my death, if it had occurred on that day, would have been ram, 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 blup, blup, blup. But it was ram, 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 freedom. Thank you. I've got another day.
What do you think of this saying that they say, pray as if everything depends on God and work as if everything depends on you?
Well, that's true. You have Our life is to learn to work in communion with God. That doesn't mean lean back on the couch. It means lean forward and get busy, but do it in concert with the kingdom. See? So we're supposed to be industrious, but we're supposed to be wise and industrious. See? Not selfish. If we're selfish, if we're industrious and selfish, we're just common human beings. If we're becoming intuitively aware of the kingdom and industrious, we're becoming agents of the kingdom. See? And that's part of our evolution, is to become agents of the kingdom. Mm-hmm. See? So we're all going to die. We don't know all the circumstances. So we all know the fact that we're going to go. Why don't we go with God? Why don't we go with remembrance? Why don't we go with sanctity? We're going to go. Is it going to be in terror? Or is it going to be a sanctified, conscious death? See? So these are the things that you prepare yourself for. You know, you die as you live. See?
There's also something very precious you said about the path is not easy. There's like the path of the saint has a lot of struggle and
definitely
difficulty, and there's something. It's because it's in my mind. It's going away, but I felt something that there's a part of us that we struggle with. Yes. Our animal, our nature,
sure.
Our habits.
Mm-hmm.
We always struggle with that. Like, for instance, our violent side or selfishness.
Sure.
We constantly struggle with that, that animal, that selfish animal. Mm-hmm. And then there's also always this curiosity about why am I here? And you know,
exactly. That's the sacred angst, making you look deeper. Yeah. All the impulses of violence and primitiveness, accept it. Accept it. Now the trick is the method of displacement. All of those things are there. Those primal instincts allowed us to outrun dinosaurs and catch up to other things to eat. Those energies are there. Simply accept it. But those are primal impulses. But those primal impulses can be sanctified. See? They can be purified. Their higher nature can arise. They can go through the process of transmutation. They can change from one condition to another condition. And by persistent prayer, persistent mantra, persistent meditation, all of those instincts are allowed to be, but purified. See? So those primal energetics can be used for more enlightened activity. See? And what was necessary in one condition is no longer necessary in another condition. See? So your nature will change, and how the energies are applied can change. See? Your experience will change. Our primal experience can change to a more enlightened experience. Hence, how we express and experience the world will be different. See? So even in that simple story I told, I wasn't dying in terror. I wasn't happy about it. But I fell upon mantra. You know, the persistent. It wasn't like, oh, poor me. My mind completely fell upon God and said, okay, I accept whatever, God. I'm yours. I belong to you. You know, Hedam, Hanam. And a minute, the understanding of how to get out came. It was a surrender. I'm with you. I'm going to die with you. And then, okay, release. True story. Mm-hmm. So, these are the kinds of things that we have to develop a quiet, hidden culture of sanctity. There's no big banners. You know, a quiet, hidden culture of sanctity, and then So that's internal association, and then there's external association. So you associate with some teachers so that everything is balanced, both inside and outside, you know, so that you learn the culture of sanctity. So that's why every yogi at some time has to sit with a saint and have to spend a lot of time with them and have to live with them and just have to be part, because it's not just sitting there learning the mantras and learning the scriptures. It's just the life, just the experience of being there, of being present. See? That an infinite amount of different knowledge you're acquired. How do you handle this situation, that situation, infinite situations? You know, how do you maintain this sanctified disposition, even though we have to run around and do all the crazy things that we have to do in life? But despite that, how do we maintain a sanctified, experience in our heart? And how do we maintain being on course all the time, regardless of how bad or good life is treating us? See? So that's the thing. I see. What time is it? 12. Wow. There's a whole there's another practice I wanted to teach. I don't want to take all of your time. So maybe we can talk about another, or if you want, I'll continue talking, because there's a practice I wanted to discuss. But it really depends on you.
If you are not tired, I'm happy to be here.
Okay. How do you guys feel?
Can I take a bathroom break?
Sure. Let's take a 5-minute break for everybody. We'll shut down the camera and let people. Yeah, straight down, and it's on the left-hand side of the bathroom. And then I'll talk. Okay. So there's a practice that I was thinking about. I started thinking about it yesterday, and again, this is a purely tantric methodology. This is simple, but a little more complex, a little bit more sophisticated. But so everyone hears about various chakras of the body, which are just plexuses or places where a grand amount of energy crosses. But there's each plexus or each chakra has particular physical and psychodynamic properties. But it's there's a practice that helps you to. This is purely yogic practice. That helps you to acquire a different vision of the world and a different context of looking and experiencing the world by using the dynamics and the concentration and contemplation, both contemplation, concentration, and bija mantra in the context of the plexuses of the body, the chakras of the body. So there's thousands and thousands of chakras in the body, micro chakras and macro chakras. But everyone always talks about 7, macro ones. And really, we'll talk about 6 at this point. So at the root of the spine is the sacrum. And with each of these, you can always chant Om, 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 because Om is the root of all mantras. All mantras manifest out of that one root sound. That's the first manifestation of vibration, Om. But each of the chakras of the body, we're starting with the root chakra, Muladhara chakra, and that's the earth element. So the bija is Lam. So we can say Om Lam, Om Lam, Om Lam. So at that point, we're concentrating on the sacrum, and we're concentrating in the spine. Or another way is just to go Om, 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 so you can feel the vibration. Lum, lum, lum. See, so now you're sort of pinpricking that chakra. You want it to manifest this energy. So that's going to be part of the experiential side. And there's another side where we say, okay, that particular chakra, root chakra, is the earth element. Now, you just said Om Lum, so that's saying, okay, it comes from the root of sanctity, and its particular manifestation is Lum. So we know that earth has an inherent sacred vibration. It's inherent. It's just, that's part of its makeup. So from a metaphoric or from a symbolic, we have to start looking at earth itself. And then in a symbolic way, you have to ask yourself the question, what does earth represent? What does earth represent? Metaphorically, symbolically, and what are its functions? See, this is going to break your common mind. This is going to make you think in a different way, make you experience in a different way. Which is my job, is to get you out of programmed thinking into an intuitive, creative experiencing. See? So you can look at the earth and say, well, the very first principle of earth is stability. It's stability. You know, it's what you put your feet on the first thing in the morning. See? So that is an inherent energy of earth, is stability. So by going Om Lum, Om Lum, that scattered psychic disposition starts to become centered, become solid. So now, if you realize, because when we take the earth for granted, we don't take the earth as something that is inherently stable, that inherently keeps us stable, that inherently creates a condition where many things can be stable by resting upon it. See? The trees, the earth, the flowers, all the humans, the animals, all rest upon the earth. So the earth becomes a cosmic support, a support system. We have to start looking at it that way, not just earth and taking it for granted and not thinking about it. We have to realize, look at the earth and start to have a relationship with it and say a prayer of thank you. Thank you for the stability. And to know that stability, you have to remember, something comes from something. You know, earth comes from the kingdom. You can't not think that. You must learn to think that. The earth comes from the kingdom. And the kingdom is given stability. So God has put this earth forth, and it's showing, okay, in this stability, look what I've done. That's what God is saying to the human beings. Look what I've done. I've given this stability. See? Look what I've done with it. See? We have to be like that. That's our template. That stability provides a stability and possibility for so much of life. See? But no one ever told us to think about it. So we didn't. You know? God put the earth and then put many things upon it that it nurtures, that it holds. So part of the earth is stability, part of the earth is nurturance, part of the earth is holding community together. See? It's in front of us, but it's so obvious that we missed it. And its root lies in sanctity. So we have to develop a constant contemplation about thinking about earth, thinking about the nature of earth itself. We haven't done it because no one told us to do it. No one just brought the topic up, you know, in a symbolic, in a metaphoric way, to see the nature of earth. And it's like anything. the more you look into it, the more you think about it, the more intimacy you'll have with it. See? The greater intimacy you have with it, the greater understanding you have with it, the greater reverence you'll have with it. See? See, now the moment you're starting to develop some reverence, isn't that inherently spiritual? See? Where now you become a caretaker as opposed to an abuser or someone who's just not aware. You walk like a clod, you know, and not realize that this is something God made for you as both a physical support and a symbolic support to see what the nature of God is. It's to support life. See? So how can you become a destroyer of life when you look out there and see what God is doing at your very feet, supporting life, creating stability for everything? Shouldn't it become a psychological template for your nature, for manifesting your God nature? See? The thing is, we never thought about it. No one ever told us to be intimate enough to think about it. So we're going to go through a number of these chakras. But my point is to encourage you to think about it, to think about Earth in a symbolic way. And get out a notepad and just start writing to yourself about how you see the Earth. You know, but you have to learn to see it with the fresh eyes, not glazed over, taking everything for granted. You know, God did that. So if God did that, don't you think we should pay attention? What did God do? It's a template. It's a template. And then, as you see it there, just by going Om Lam, Om Lam, Om Lam, you'll start to feel that plexus vibrate. And then intuitively, over time, you'll have deeper and deeper experiences with the nature of stability, the nature of support. It'll just become part of your inner disposition. This is the inner alchemy. It's not that it's not there. It is there. It just has to be uncovered. You know, it's like me having, you know, X amount of dollars in my wallet, but I never checked, so I didn't know it was there. So the teacher says, check, pay attention. And then you start this process of discovery. But no one ever told you to really, really think about it, to make it part of your contemplation, you know, just as part of what you mull over during the days, and looking at the earth and thinking, what is the nature of the earth? What is the symbolism of the earth? What is the function of the earth? No one told you to take it that seriously, to make it part of your living contemplation. You know, if you think about it, you'll be in the process of a discovery, and you'll be in the process of greater intimacy. Okay? So that's one element. You move to the next chakra, Swadhisthana chakra. We're dealing with the water element. Om Vam, Om Vam, Om Vam. And then we start to look at the nature of water. You know, water is inherently cleansing. Water is inherently nutritive. Okay? Water is very changeable, mutable. You put it in a square cup, it's a square. You put it in a round cup, it's a round. So it easily changes forms. It's not bound by any one form. It can change. So if we're thinking about water and thinking, well, heaven wants us to have that kind of incredible flexibility. So what about all your hard emotions? You know. Also, with Swadhisthana chakra, we're looking at creativity, and we're looking at sensuality. See, and we're looking at sexuality. All of that is part of Swadhisthana chakra, but you have to look at it in context. You know, as a volume, not as a line. See? So that we have to start thinking that these are all divine elements of God that are inherent to our nature, that are inherently sanctified. Now, how do we utilize those elements psychologically? You know, how flexible am I? You know, how creative am I? How sensual am I? And when I'm talking about sensuality, I'm talking about sensuality in a far more sophisticated way than people are thinking. You know, when you see a lush forest, isn't that a visually sensual experience? When you have fragrance of flowers, isn't that a sensual experience? You know, when you eat a sweet peach, isn't that a sensual experience? See? So we have to realize to keep our sensual facilities alive, you know, acknowledge them, you know, keep it alive, you know. Sensuality doesn't always just mean sexuality, you know. God wants you to have a very visceral experience of the kingdom, you know. So this sensuality is very, very important. You know, these are all just different voices of the kingdom. When you eat the peach, when you see the lush forest, when you smell the incense, you know, when you feel the fiber of a plant, you know, or a fabric, you know, these are all sensual experiences. We have to slowly learn to tie each and every experience to the God, to the kingdom. So instead of thing, that, we learn to tie it to the kingdom. Something comes from something. That sensual experience of eating a peach, that came from the kingdom. Now, won't that make you think differently about God? We never thought about it. That peach, that sensual experience is an experience from the kingdom. See? So we have to look at it and realize this experience came from God. How is that so? What does that mean? We have to ask the questions. See, so that all of a sudden we're more enlivened. We're breaking the stereotypical patterns of zombie-like living. You know. But one of the geniuses of Hinduism is that it ties everything to God. That's why there's infinite stories in Hinduism. And everything is tied to God. Whether it's a bird, a tree, a rock, a stone, a river, it's all tied to God. Everything is tied to God. That knowledge has to be transferred to the West to get the habit of tying these phenomena to God, so that there's an easy remembrance. So if we see a blade of grass, oh yeah, Ram walking through the forest, yeah. You know, or when it came time for the birth of Gautama Buddha, the tree reaching down, you know, to help support the mother. Things like this. Is that correct? Buddha story? Mm-hmm. Sometimes I'll mix the saints in my mind. You know, or even in the dream, you know, the various divine mothers dreaming that a manifestation of God will come to her. See? So even the dream, remember, it should remind you of a story of God. See? So we have to look at this, and we have to do the contemplation of these elements. What does this chakra represent? You know, creativity, flexibility, sensuality. See, you know, procreation, not sexuality, procreation. You know, the giving the opportunity of birth to another soul, so that they can work out their evolution. See, the kingdom made sexuality pleasurable, so that we would willfully engage in giving other souls the opportunity. And in giving other souls the opportunity for this world, we also learn the skills of nurturance. You know, taking care of them, maintaining them, birthing them out into the world. So that's Swadhisthana chakra. So again, we're trying to change the context of how we think about the world, that we have to acquire a reverence for water, for fluidity, for creativity. We have to acquire a reverence for it. We don't just take it for granted. See, again, you're becoming more alive when you're thinking about it in a deeper way. I suppose we drink the water, we wash our face, we take it for granted, we don't even think about it. We don't even think about it. We never really even experienced it. See? We don't even really experience it. It was something and next, something and the next. See? We didn't experience anything. It was dull. Almost dead. So then the next chakra, Manipura chakra, is fire. Fire is inherently purificatory. But then we say, well, think about fire symbolically. What does fire do? It warms, it brings warmth. See? It brings light. See? So we have to think about that. Why did St. Francis, he calls brother, sun, sister, moon, and at one point he was praying to the fire. He was badly burned, and he simply bowed in reverence, praying to the fire. Why? Because he remembered he had an intimacy with the fire. And he realized the fire is inherently divine. It's inherently divine. He had a purely tantric perspective. He looked at everything as inherently divine. See? So he prayed before the fire, calling, and to show the intimacy, he refers to things as brother and sister. These different elements as brothers and sisters. Saying, this is just this kind of life form, this kind of life form. I'm one kind of... So he's realizing he's just part of the cadre of life forms, all coming out of the sacred. See? So, again, we have to look at fire as not just a thing, but something sacred. Agni. See? All these homas. You think all those pujas with all those fires and all those prayers going on, you don't think that fire has some sanctity? It's not just some thing? All these priests sitting around these fires? Think about it. No one asked you to think about it. No one forced you to think about it. So you just took it for granted. See? But that fire is inherently sacred. And it'll behoove you to realize that. You'll go a whole lot further in your evolution. So again, now the element of fire. We think about it in sacred as sacred, and we think about it in a symbolic and a metaphoric way. And by doing that, more intimacy. See? We go to Anahat chakra, heart chakra, air element, air, spaciousness. Again, spaciousness is inherently sacred. It's inherently a quality of God. So, where are you creating spaciousness for yourself, spaciousness for others? Are you crowding other people emotionally? Are you crowding other people psychologically? Or crowding other people physically? Heaven gave you space. Heaven gave all things space. So don't you think you should emulate that? Be open, spacious. Are you crowding other people emotionally? Or are you allowing them to be? The space allows you to be creative in space. See? So that's Om Yum, Om Yum, Om Yum. And you have to, again, learn to enter into the spine, and you have to learn to be two things: relaxed and you're highly concentrated. That's what engages the chakra to allow you to experience more. So you'll start to experience the inherent nature, of that expansive spaciousness, and that element of love that manifests. If you do these, like, you just going yum, yum, yum. The moment you reach the Anahat chakra, the heart chakra, from the moment your Shakti Kundalini can rise to that point, At that point, you've now moved from the fire element to air element. At that point, you're entering the condition or the realm of sanctity. You're developing the nature of a saint. The moment that the human being, Shakti Kundalini, can stabilize and hold that level of energy, you are becoming a saint. And as you become more stable in that, you become a full-blown saint. Full-blown saint. See? Each of these has particular qualities. You know, if you look at one of the qualities of going back down one to the third chakra, the fire element, one of the psychological dispositions is the element of dominance. That element is part of the psychological nature. Dominance and submission, those are the psychological elements of that chakra. If you go to the second chakra, you're talking about fluidity and creativity. Okay? If you go to the root chakra, earth element, stability. Those are the issues. Like if someone's having fear and lack of stability problems, something's not right with the earth element in them. You see, if they're having a very selfish heart, something's not right with the fourth chakra. There's a misapplication of the energy. Misapplication of the energy. That energy should be gracing everyone, not touching. See, there's a misapplication of the energy there. It's an inappropriate use of the energy. But by them chanting, if they go to the heart, yum, yum, om, yum, the more stability will come to the heart. And the more of the correct nature of the heart will be expressed. See? This is the healing that's done by Bija Mantra. And then you have to do the contemplation on the nature of spaciousness, the nature of graciousness, the nature of giving, altruism. See? So you ask yourself, how altruistic am I living? Am I being? See? This will bring healing and bring fullness and bring evolution to you. Then the throat chakra, hum, om hum. And that has to do with any form of communication, all the arts, like the playing of the flute and such. Hum, om hum. But so, in Krishna playing the flute, all of this, that chakra is like a divine symphony in a way. It's saying that all of existence desires and deserves pure expression. All existence desires and deserves pure expression. See? And that should be allowed. So are we respecting the expression of others? Are we hearing the voice of others? See? Are we allowing it to be unmolested? See? So in learning about that chakra, om hum, we learn to create space to hear the expression of the creation, of all the human beings, of all the animals, of all the plants, to allow expression. See? Allow them their own. Allow everything to have its voice and to respect the voice of everything. See? How much do we close our ears to just this or just that? See? As opposed to allowing the expression of everything, that it has its place. See? That it's a community. That the voice of the world is a community of expression. See? And that we have to respect it, let it be. See? And be present to be able to hear the voice of creation. Coming through the trees, coming through the humans, coming through the animals. Allow everything to have its voice with reverence. That'll change the political world. You know. And then you go about above that, you know, to the third eye, and that is where the voice of God and the command of God is direct. The moment a person can centralize their attention here and become profound and still, then they enter a whole other realm where they hear the voice of God directly. So in that, you become a pure agent or a pure tool of the kingdom. A pure tool of the kingdom. You're taking the directive and you're delivering the directive without any manipulation, no human intervention. You're purely an agent of the reality. When you reach here, the heart, of course, the kingdom is coming into you and flowing through you, but it's not perfect. It's not perfect. Very, very good, highly refined, sanctified, yes. Not perfect. But here, perfect. 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 See? So that means when the soul reaches here, the Shakti Kundalini rises to this place, this point. It means perfect expression of the will of God. Perfect expression of the will of God. Not manipulated by the human condition. See? Above that is unspeakable, unknowable, the grand cosmic silence. But by doing these contemplations and doing these bija mantras and thinking about each of these elements, and then looking into the world to see the element and say, what is that element doing? You know, does the tree have a voice that I'm listening to? Does the human have a voice that I'm listening to? Do the animals and do they have a voice? Have I thought? Do they have a voice? Have I been listening? See? What doesn't the kingdom listen to? It listens to everything. See? And gives everything its place and everything its integrity. So, see how you're becoming divine and more full by doing this type of contemplation, by doing this type of psychic sensitivity. See, this is true, pure, deep practice to acquire this kind of sensitivity. It's interesting. Normally this room is full and people are all over the place, but God wanted you people to hear this. That's why you people are here. There's many, many, many other people who come. They're not here today. See? So, whoever is in this room hearing this satsang, it's because you've had prayers in the past to hear this knowledge. You know? And if you haven't had that deep interest, you're not here. You are just not here. See? So, this is what's been given today is questions you've asked in prior birth, angst that you've been seeking out, you know, clarifications that you've been wanting. So it's now to absorb as much as possible and to do as much experiments as possible. To try to look at the world in a far more creative way. Try to experience the world in a far more creative way. Try to experience the world in a far more intimate way. And know that every one of those experiments and every one of those aspects of intimacy is touching deeper and deeper into the nature of the kingdom, into the nature of God. See? Grand experiment, grand experience.
Are there elements and sounds associated with 5, 6, and 7?
Om is the sixth. Seventh is silence. The inexpressible. Because at that point you go beyond mind. You go beyond creation. See? The seventh chakra is beyond creation. See? So there's no human facility to experience it. But you have this facility of soul. That you'll experience it through soul, which is beyond human facility. See? Yes.
You didn't mention the sound of the solar. The
Ram.
fire.
Oh, I'm sorry. Ram.
Ram.
Ram. Yeah, it's the solar bija. The Om Ram, Om Ram.
That's
all purification.
Oh, that's for the third?
Yeah, third chakra. Ram, Ram, Ram.
Do you verbally say? Are you required to say it verbally, or you can mentally say it?
You're not required. In the beginning, because people are unfamiliar, it's good to say it orally, just because it engages more senses. But later on, it can be purely mental. Purely mental. The spine erect, and you can coordinate it with your breath if you'd like. And then deep concentration inside the spine, and then go through each bija, and then do each contemplation. You know, you have to say, what is the nature of earth? What is the nature of water? What is the nature of fire? What is the nature of air? What is the nature of ether? See? And here, pure intuition. Pure intuitional mind, linked to the kingdom. See?
I remember last month actually, you said something that use every weapon in your arsenal, right?
Absolutely.
Right. So I thought it was very useful, and but when I the Buddhist saint Dipama, when I read her biography, she has put 10 not in her biography, but there's a Wikipedia page actually also. So I read that too, and she has a list of 10. She's the famous Buddhist saint. So she has 10 teachings, things to follow. In that, the first thing she said, pick one technique and then stick with it, right?
She's right.
So when we do these different things, they don't conflict at any point, right? Like
Not at all. Not at all. They don't conflict. It's like a symphony, where all the elements of this of the orchestra are playing together one song. See, one creative song.
So if you, let's say, follow Buddha's Vipassana teaching and Vipassana meditation,
Yeah.
and then at the same time, during the different time of the day, you do this Tantra practice, they don't conflict, right?
That's a good question. They don't conflict at all.
In fact, they go together. I mean, they help each other.
It's part of the human experience.
Okay.
Because if you're doing a Vipassana meditation, that is developing the quality of pure insight, calm mind, pure insight. But that's part of your sacred disposition. That's not all of your sacred disposition. God gave you a heart for a reason. God gave you tactile senses and sensory experiences for a reason. It's just to see that all this is God. That's one element. If you go deep enough into Vipassana, all of these other things will be naturally realized. You'll naturally become aware of it. No one's won't have to teach it to you. It'll become an immediate insight, a self manifesting insight. You know, you'll see the trees, you'll see the human, you'll see the nature of the chakras, you'll see their disposition, you'll see their quality, you'll see the symbolism, you'll see the sanctity. It'll happen quite naturally. It's just a different way. You know, they're all valid. They're all valid, and there's no conflict. You know, does the violin conflict with the flute in the symphony? No. They're working together. They're all playing their part, showing this element of the kingdom, that element. So the God can sing to the violin, and the God can sing to the flute, and the God can sing to the drum. See, it's all voices of the kingdom. So it's part of the fullness of your existence. The Vipassana person who's practicing that Vipassana, they'll realize all of that. They may not talk about it, but they'll realize all of that. They'll become hyper aware of the song of God coming through every element of life. They'll become hyper aware of it. See? They won't miss the songs. It's there. God is singing. See? They'll see it. They'll experience it. They may not speak about it a whole lot, but they're definitely experiencing it. See? There's no problem. No problem.
Interesting to me that the four elements, air, fire, water, and earth, are also sacred to the Native Americans. And the Chinese, the Taoists also, but they use more elements, including wood and
Metal.
metal.
Yeah.
but it's similar. Just knowing the different qualities
Sure.
and levels of materiality.
Yeah, they're trying to show you the sanctity of life through the elements of life. And saying, remember it. See it. These chakras are lenses of perception. See? We have to learn to use them as lenses of perception, of ways of seeing the world and having greater intimacy with the world. Okay? And that intimacy with the world, it's world/God. See? It's God hidden in a garment.
Can we practice this sound? Just like when Raj was asking, what mantras can I use? Can I use this mantras for myself as a practice?
Of course, this is what God has done. This is all universal
so this is
stuff.
a real mantra.
Oh yeah, these are bija mantras.
Yeah.
Called bija means seed. You know, is it the only mantra that will help make those balance and manifest the inherent wisdom? No, but are they central ones? You know, lam, vam, ram, yam, hum, om. Definitely. If you're doing like Gayatri mantra, prior to saying the Gayatri, you'll go Om Bhu, Om Bhuvaha, Om Swaha, Om Maha, Om Janaha, Om Tapaha, Om Satyam, Tatsavisu Vrenyam, Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, Diyo Yonaha Prachodayat. But that Om Bhu, Om Bhuvaha, Om Swaha are the chakras again. See?
Om Namah Shivaya. When is that used?
Well, that's just a Shivite mantra, very, very powerful Shivite mantra. You know, giving reverence to Lord Shiva. See, you know, Om is always the root mantra, and then Shiva is reverence to God in the form of Shiva, the great purifier. See, you know, saints have chanted that for thousands of years. Absolutely sanctified. Will it take you home? Definitely. Definitely. No doubt about it. But you have to become invested. It has to become part of your bones, not just your psyche. It has to become part of your bones. See?
I actually experienced one time climbing a mountain. I was left behind by the two guys I was with.
Yeah.
And my knees were hurting.
Yeah.
And I remember the mantra, and
Yeah.
Om Namah Shivaya, and
Om
every
Namah
step.
Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya.
And I remember my knees getting stronger and stronger.
That's correct practice.
Is it?
It's correct
Oh.
practice. Yeah. Rely on God. Rely on God. Rely on God. Remember God. Remember God. That's
I was
correct.
surprised. I was very surprised.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, you know, calling upon God's name is the fundamental platform of our life. It's the fundamental platform. You went to the root, you know. So whether it's God is Shiva, God is Devi, God is Ram, they're all threads to the kingdom. They all take you right back to the kingdom, to the central root of what everything is. See? So it's good practice. It's good practice. Remember God. Remember God. Remember God. Any other thoughts, questions before we close? I wanted to get that practice out. You know. But it's to be able to see the world differently. That's what I'm trying to get you to do. See the world differently. Think about it. Contemplate it. Realize it all came out of sanctity. It's there and it's here. See? And you have to realize both. See? That's why there's no such thing as a lonely yogi. That's the only human beings are like that. Humans are like that. No, yogis are not like that at all. Because there's a constant intimacy. How can you feel alone? How can you feel alone when you chant God's name and God is present in all these different things? How can you feel alone? It's not possible. It's just not possible. See? That's a psychological human construct. It has nothing to do with once you enter the sacred life. Not at all. Not at all. You're never alone. You're always in community. You know, sanctified community.